Adrian? God, where the hell is he? He knows we're supposed to be filming right now. Adrian! Chamber of Secrets has been open. Adrian, no, I should have warned you. Enemies of the air, beware. He's gonna kill them all. He's got... No hipsters. Fucking son of a bitch.
Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here with this week's edition of Screw Your Childhood.
Adrian Reads Harry Potter. This is the Chamber of Secrets, chapters 7 through 9.
Yes.
And it's getting better. It's getting good. Getting spicy.
It's getting gone. I mean, reading it. Tell us about what chapter we read.
Quick rehash. Chapter 7, Mudbloods and Murmurs. We get a little bit about Quidditch practice. We get introduced to the concept of mudbloods and why that's a bad thing. And Harry Potter is starting to hear voices, which is never a good sign. Chapter 8 is the Deathday party. If you've only seen the movies, you missed out on the glory of the Deathday party because nobody cares about the ghosts in the film. We get the idea of what a squib is.
There's no ghosts in the film?
There's ghosts, but they're not really important.
Well, that screws one of my... Okay.
We'll talk. We get the party itself. We learn about squibs. Filch is a squib. And the Chamber of Secrets has been opened. We get the writing on the wall, which is the title of the last chapter of this section. The writing on the wall. We get the fact that the victims are being petrified, not killed. We get a history lesson, which says the Chamber of Secrets is really just a myth. There's nothing to it. And we get to meet Moaning Myrtle for the first time, the Emily Dickinson of the Wizarding World. Adrian, would you...
What the hell did you just say?
The Emily Dickinson of the Wizarding World. Ah! Okay, so, Harry Potter, talk to me.
Colin. The predicament of Colin. The disposable friend, right?
Yes.
The friend you want to get rid of. Have you ever read this? And I'm going to bring up gender again.
Okay.
Have you ever read that guy in a masculine narrative?
I don't think so.
Is that a feminine trope? Because I know, look, in the masculine world that I am familiar with, which I am not going to make complete gender stereotypes, things like that, there's always that guy that you could do with or without.
Yes.
Right? There's always the guy that no one really likes, but in that way, everyone sort of likes him. And he's the butt of all the jokes.
Yes.
Right? He's Charlie from Flowers for Algernon.
Okay.
He's the guy that, despite the fact that he's the one you're going to pull jokes on, the minute somebody else says something about him,
It's on.
you son of a bitch.
Absolutely,
drop it.
100%. If I may splice in a little bit from Rounders, if you don't recognize that guy, you are that guy.
Right.
So, yes, I agree 100% though.
But in the masculine world,
I can
that
honestly
guy,
say that I have a friend who is that guy.
and that guy has to be in the group.
Yes.
And if that guy is not in the group, we will make one.
Yes.
Right? But he is indelibly a part of the group. That is not, it apparently is not so in the feminine world. How many times have you been associated with a group of women? Have you known a clique of women? And there's always one girl there that no one likes, and they're always sort of trying to get rid of.
It's so blatantly apparent.
Every time.
It is, yes.
Blatantly apparent.
But that's the relationship with men. When you get that, nobody really cares if he's here or not. He's still an integral part of our group.
Of the goings-on.
Yes, and we rely on him to be there. He plays a specific role.
Someone has to be made fun of.
Someone has to be that guy. So yeah, that is an interesting point. How do you feel about mudbloods?
Look, is that what Muggle is?
No.
A mudblood is part Muggle?
A Muggle is a non-wizarding person.
Right.
A mudblood is someone born of non-wizarding family.
Okay.
Just like Hermione's parents, the father, at least I know.
No, I thought I didn't think, maybe I am misunderstanding what's going on. What is it to do with mudblood, though? Because
They're not of pure blood.
But they're of no blood. Hermione is of no blood.
There is magic in her blood. There has to be. Otherwise she wouldn't be able to use magic. But like, let's look at Malfoy, for example.
Right.
His family is a pure blood wizarding family. They trace their lineage back to saying this is the purest of blood. We trace our lineage back to this. Look at the concept of the heir of Slytherin. This is the blood that's derived from Salazar Slytherin. Whereas Hermione, there's that break in the chain, where she is not pure of wizarding blood.
So Muggles are completely incapable of magic.
Yes, we are Muggles.
Okay,
The Dursleys are Muggles.
Then I have a much bigger beef with the word Muggle. Now look,
Okay.
I took some heat on a personal level for comparing the M word to the N word, because they're not that alike. What are you talking about? Okay, let me go over this. The M and the N phoneme are so similar that children often are not even expected to get them right at first, right?
Okay.
The word nana, what does that come from? Mama. What are the interchangeable letters there? M-A-M-A versus N-A-N-A. Okay, you go from that directly into I or you, which are in Germanic much closer if you're looking at the pronunciation of things. The double G is completely non-useful in today's world, right?
Okay.
One G sounds the same as two G's, doesn't it? So why do you need to double up the G right in the middle of the word GG, okay?
Did someone send you an angry letter that I'm not aware of?
Not just a conversation that I had on a personal level.
Okay.
So the end of the word, ER and RE. How is ER pronounced? How is RE pronounced?
Re or ear?
Right? So and And when it's at the end of a word, it's Now, EL, how is that pronounced?
L.
How is LE pronounced?
L.
It's the same word.
Okay.
Okay, so if we are equating that to a type of racism, we're simply stating that everything important that a person can do, which in this world is magic, the Muggles are not capable of.
Okay.
So when you're looking at that break on race, discriminating against a Muggle is absolutely all right to do because they're simply less capable.
Now, they're considered less capable and useless from the sense of people who follow the pure blood thought process. Now, if we look at
Not even then. Not even then, because Muggles simply are not capable of anything that is important in this world.
look at Arthur Weasley.
Right, no. That proves my point.
No. Arthur Weasley studies the Muggles and constantly compliments the Muggles on how ingenuitive they are, how brilliant they are.
How ingenuitive they are despite the fact that they are not capable of the same things. What does this reek of? This reeks of the white man's burden.
Okay.
Does it not? Tell me that's not the white man's burden.
Okay.
Look how cute the Muggles are. He even has that white man's burden interest in them. Oh, their cars. Look how beautiful and ingenuitive their cars. It's so cute.
So let me push this a little further. What do you think of the concept of squibs? Those are who are incapable of using magic, but are still in the wizarding world.
What that is, if you delve deeply into it, which is okay. So I'm gonna go off the deep end here for a minute. The N word. There is a large group of people who claim to be not racist, which I think these are people who are racist by ignorance, not by ill intent, right?
Okay.
These are people who just genuinely believe. These are the people who will tell you that there is a difference between black people and the N word.
Okay.
Okay. This is the same thing as saying, okay, there's a difference between black people and the N-word, just like there's a difference between white people and white trash. Squibs are white trash.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what's wrong with that on a real level is that when you say that there's a difference between black people and the N-word, and you say that the N-word is a real thing, you were saying that the flaws inherent to this person are due to the fact that they are of that race. He or she is simply not capable of living a stand-up life because he or she is the N-word.
Okay.
Now, there's a difference between, this is what they'll say, is there's a difference between black people and the N-word, but it's still saying that the mechanism by which that person is flawed is their race, which is obviously just completely out there and stupid.
So, with the prospect of the heir of Slytherin, who is preying upon the Muggle-born, the non-pure blood wizards, the non-pure people, and Malfoy seems to be 100% supportive of the heir of Slytherin, which we do see later, but we're going to couple in that now because, I mean, when the chambers first open, he's right there and he's all, oh, better beware, mudbloods. It is seen as an archaic thought process, but it is still an acceptable thought process.
Not only is it still an acceptable thought process, what this is setting up is the fact that he's right.
So does that make Malfoy, is that a trope for young readers to push them, to make them think that Malfoy is a less than savorable character? Does that make sense?
Right. Well, yes, it is. The problem therein is that he's also right by the world which the story has constructed.
Okay.
Squibs and muggles are worth less to society.
Okay.
Because while the Weasley's father is in awe of the things that the muggles have become capable of, how much longer did it take them? So how long, and they still are worth less to the progression of people.
I think it's an interesting conversation, and I'm really excited that, you know, the man who didn't want to read Harry Potter because there was nothing there just went off on a 10 to 12 minute tangent.
It's
there's
a racist text.
It is. Now, and that's the thing, and I did say there's like an adult topic per book. And the thought of race, pure blood versus mud blood, seems to be the predominant theme of this book. Is this the author's way of introducing children in a comfortable way to these concepts?
Well, I think absolutely. I think that is, it's inarguable that that's what's going on. The problem is, she set it up in a way that racism's completely fine.
Okay. I don't think so. I think when you read deep into it, that's the way you're getting. But from a child's perspective, the bad guys are the ones who don't like muggles. The bad guys are the ones who devalue muggles. It's the good characters. It's Arthur Weasley who adores the muggles and who appreciates the muggles, who works with the muggles in a way, in a sense. So I think at a very basic young reader's level, she's doing it right. I'm not saying J.K. Rowling's a racist because of this text, but I think the way it's written, that's what she's attempting to do.
Absolutely. But the problem is still in the text, is it not?
It's still apparent,
you want to say, you want to demean children, which, by absolutely, they're not reading into this like you and I are reading into this. But at the same time, children will surprise you.
This is true.
And there is always something that a child will say, and you're like, holy hell, how did you come to that? And they're absolutely right.
Okay.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about what's still going on in the book here, because we've got that out of the way. I hope you feel better. Can you breathe? The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Any thoughts about the Chamber of Secrets, or perhaps even the introduction of Moaning Myrtle, who is our first character, because we do have the introductions of death with the ghosts, nearly Headless Nick, but it seems to be that Moaning Myrtle might be the first real tragic death.
Yeah, there's some things I want to talk about here in general. Did Moaning Myrtle commit suicide in the bathroom, and that's why she's there? Now, we're talking about gender and we're talking about discrimination.
Yes.
It's interesting to me that in this book, even Nick is discriminated against.
Yes, he can't join the Headless Hunt.
He's not fully something.
He's not fully headless.
Right. Now, we get into the story of Myrtle. Myrtle is a girl.
Yes.
Who presumably committed suicide in the bathroom.
Okay.
And is constantly self-conscious.
Yes.
Right?
So it is presumed that she is dead and she is the way she is because she was constantly bullied.
Right. What is that, like, not to keep going back to gender, But is that another feminine thing? Like, when you talk about, think of the narrative around boys being bullied. What do? They shoot up the school.
Yeah.
Girls being bullied. What do? They hang themselves in the bathroom. I think that, I don't know that that's what's being stated here. I think that it is interesting to note that that was precisely where, and I don't know if it's the first place or not, but right where J.K. Rowling went with a female ghost.
Okay.
Was that she was the victim of herself. She was the victim of her own hand through someone else's word.
Okay. And we will get female ghosts later. So we'll see a little bit more. I think it'll be interesting to see how that takes. We'll have to try to remember to go back to Moaning Myrtle at that point. She will be a reoccurring character, not a huge primary character in the later books, but reoccurring nonetheless. Anything else that you want to talk about? There was the history lesson that was given talking about the Chamber of Secrets and pushing it off as mythos. It's non-existent.
Oh, right here, I've got a small thing to go back to the M word is the N word.
Okay.
Right when they're page 145, leading into an explanation of how someone is definitely worse less due to the circumstance by which they were born, you have, quote, Ron stifled a snigger. S-N-I-G-G-E-R.
Not a snicker.
No. What was the point of choosing that word? Okay, so I think that it makes me uncomfortable a little bit to talk about.
That's an important part of literature. If it does make you uncomfortable, that seems to be any more people stifle it and don't acknowledge it. It is absolutely imperative that you have to speak about it. Because that's the only way you learn, that's the only way you grow as a person. Otherwise, we'd be stuck in some archaic form of thought.
Right.
So I think it's good that you are bringing it up, and obviously you're very passionate about it. We're going to see if this continues forward in some of the later chapters, maybe some of the later books. Like I said, there are adult themes prevalent in each one, and this one seems to be the one of race. We do get, again, we haven't talked about Dobby yet, and the house elf race, which is a race born in slavery.
Right.
So there is a lot that we're going to have to go on with this.
I've got written down here, does Ginny marry Harry or sacrifice herself for him? I think we're definitely setting up for one or the other.
Okay.
There was a Slytherin ghost at the party.
Yes.
Covered in silver bloodstains. Blood of a unicorn? Wasn't that silver?
It was silver blood.
So I think that's...
I think that was more just a comment on the color of ghosts. Because they are seen as silvery and transparent.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because you're also shown Nick's neck is red, right?
Okay.
Like they mentioned that the color of blood, I think, at one point.
All right.
So I think that you are definitely getting into something there with a lineage problem among the Slytherin with killing unicorns.
Okay. And, I did mention this a little bit. You haven't seen the films yet. We are still working on getting a commentary filmed. Hopefully that's going to come soon. It's a long thing to film. It's like 2 hours. So it will take some time. The ghosts are not prominent in the films. They're there.
See, that upsets me because you also said that the housing hat?
The sorting hat.
The sorting hat.
The sorting hat. No, the sorting hat's in the movie. Absolutely. There's a big scene with the sorting. It's not as elaborate as the book. There's no song, but the sorting is definitely a thing, and the whole Slytherin Gryffindor thing is definitely there. But the ghost, we are introduced to Nick. We see the ghost at major functions. We talk to Nick on occasions, but that's really it.
See, and that's disappointing because to me, one of the most interesting parts to wonder about so far in the books are what are the ghosts? Why do the ghosts exist? There is not a ghost for everyone, so it's obviously not just the afterlife. So what is it that it takes to produce a ghost?
Here's an important part that it's not a spoiler by any means, but it'll get you thinking. The paintings and the portraits are mobile.
Right.
They have characteristics, they have personality, they travel from painting to painting. What happens when someone dies, yet their portrait remains?
And see, that's another thing that I was wondering about, because I think, was it Indian tribes that this story was about? That when photos first came about, these Indian tribes thought that it was stealing your soul.
Your soul, yes.
So I wondered about that. I've got two things left to talk about.
Okay.
Did it strike you that this story was set in 1992?
No. Now, you actually sent me a text message saying that, and I'm like, all right, that's nice, Adrian.
For those of you who didn't catch it, Nick died in 1492. During this book, they go to his 500th Deathday party, which is the 500th anniversary of the day he died, meaning this book is set in 1992.
Yeah.
There's no way, or maybe 93, depending on the month, 93.
So Harry Potter is your age.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Harry Potter's a little older, actually, than you.
Harry Potter. I thought you were talking about the 500.
Oh. What's your other point?
I have this written down, and I don't remember what it was about. Innocent until proven guilty versus the desire to see someone punished.
Are you talking about when Harry first stumbles upon Filch's cat?
Filch's cat. Oh, yes. Yes, I am. So her first reaction is to punish someone.
Yes.
This is a very human moment.
Yes.
That is interesting to me to see it in here, because I don't care who's guilty. I want some blood.
Filch was that way. And Filch is the man who said, I miss the days we could hang them by their thumbs in the dungeon.
Yeah.
I think Filch is a very tragic character.
So far or going forward?
All throughout.
Okay, how so far?
This is a man in the wizarding world who is clearly looked down upon. He's a squib. He's attempting to gain some form of knowledge so he can at least contribute to this society, but he can't, so he pushes a broom. That's his purpose in life, is to push a broom now. He clearly strives and yearns for more. And I think he takes his hatred and anger out on those who he sees as, belittling him. And that's the children who can do better magic than he can. So I think Filch is a very tragic character. Now, you said he calls for blood, that's true. McGonagall's there, Minerva McGonagall. And there is a sense that there is something not right. Because even as a professor, when she sees the Chamber of Secrets has been opened, enemies of the air beware, there is fear.
Yeah.
And there is immediate action.
Yes.
This is the teacher walking into all hell has broken loose. So that's good. That's good writing by the author. I think she really impartial. She really places that into the reader's mind that this is a big deal. So, bravo.
Without by the way, without saying it, A, and B, without belittling Snape.
Yep.
Snape has been an adult through this. He does not struggle. Dumbledore does not freak out.
Exactly.
I think that.
And are you finally seeing the difference between Dumbledore, as compared to the first book where I said he's just ridiculous and I didn't like it?
I don't have that. I don't have that palette yet.
Not yet. All right, it's definitely coming. So we will continue forward next week, chapters 10 through 12, and we're going to finish this one, and we're going to get somewhere. We're going to do the Prisoner of Azkaban.
I've got one more thing. It is. The difference with American sports, the idea of toughness due to weather. Football lasts from the hottest months to the wettest months to the coldest months. And that was interesting to me when they were very first saying, okay, we're going to get on the field, but it's raining,
Yeah.
And they were all of this stuff about practice. And it never struck me that in other countries, sports are such a different experience.
Oh, yes.
Right? Because in this country, each sport is a different experience. When you talk about baseball, the boys of summer, right? It is the long, hot days of summer. They play one game a day, every day for 4 months, which is like our hot and sticky summer novel writing challenge.
Look at that plug.
But, like I said in another one of those videos, NaNoWriMo is like football. When it's bam, bam, bam. So I think that just on a personal level, that forced me into the thought of sport, and in England, the sport's soccer.
Yes.
Right.
And Quidditch is a very English sport.
Right.
Absolutely.
And Canada, you've got hockey, which all of these
soccer.
get your face.
Yeah, we have a lot of Canadians. I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Interestingly, 50% of our viewership is from the United States. Only 50%. I don't know if you've looked at those numbers.
Impressive.
But the UK and Canada comprise about 30% of the remaining 50%. So I would like to hear from Canadians and the UKans your thoughts about sport.
Okay.
Because in the United States, the ultimate tough guy sport is looked at as football.
Yes.
Because you start in the summer when it's 100 degrees. You go through the fall when it's wet and everyone's got allergies.
And the way Americans see it, this is changing. I'm sorry, but soccer is for kids and women. That's not a man's sport.
Right. I'm just
saying stereotypically. That's
right,
the okay.
Right. But in Europe, football and soccer, like it's no secret that they share the same name, right? Like football and football, but there's some tough bastards that play soccer, right?
Yes.
And it's interesting that idea of toughness, right? Because like a middle linebacker in American football is basically what you're looking at what are the defensive players in soccer?
Like a center back.
Like a center back, okay. Your wide receivers in American football, they're the pretty boys, the prima donnas. What are your strikers?
Strikers.
Okay.
Left wing.
Yeah, left wing. Okay. So it's interesting to me to see those parallels in at least the appearance of the sport to the spectator. But the differences between countries in looking at sport in itself.
Interesting.
So I think that'd be an interesting talking point for Dalton to relay to me in the next few weeks, because like we say,
Adrian doesn't read the comments.
I don't read the comments for the Harry Potter. You don't have to worry about spoiling it for me.
So let me know down below, and I'll let him know what he needs to know. Racism in Harry Potter, sports around the world. We'll be back next week with more.